Hello again, my little conscripts, and welcome to another Mordian Glory video. In today's episode, we shall be casting our ever-critical eye over another Imperial Guard 10th edition datasheet. And in our crosshairs this time, we have got the brand spanking new Rogal Dorn commanders. This is a really hotly anticipated unit, and a lot of Guard commanders, including myself, are very excited about this. And so, without further ado, let's not mess around. Let's mount up, roll out, and drive right into this thing. So, as is tradition, let's start off with a cheeky gander at the stat line. And what a stat line it is. Movement of 10 inches makes this guy pretty speedy around the battlefield. He's not foot slogging around at 6 inches. Oh no sirree, he drives into battle. And he also has a toughness of 12 with a 2+ save and 18 wounds. Ooh, it's going to take some hefty firepower to bring him down. T12 is actually a really big deal. I don't just want to rush past that. The standard sort of anti-tank profile is las cannon equivalent. We're talking strength 12, AP -3, damage d6+1. A lot of the time, las cannons wound guard vehicles on 3s. I mean, let's look at the Lehman Russ, for example. Your Lehman Russ commander is T11, so the las cannon wounds you on a 3. That means that more often than not, it's going to wound you if it hits you. But with the Dawn Tank commander, it's T12, and as a result, the las cannon wounds on a 4. And that's 50-50. That's a lot less sure. And I can't tell you the number of times that I've had someone fire a couple of las cannons at me, get a couple of hits, and then just not get the wounds. It's a dice game, after all. So T12 is a big deal. Even if they do get the wounds through, you're going to be a 2-up save. If they have -3, worst case scenario, you are going to be on a 5-up save. But if you're in cover, then that means you're going to be on a 4+ save, and again that's 50-50. Now maybe you fail your 50-50 save, or maybe you get lucky, you go the other way, you pass both of them. The nature of 4-ups in 40k is so fickle. They giveth, they taketh away. They look like a 50% chance. What you tend to find is if you roll 2 dice, it doesn't mean one's going to pass, one's going to fail. What tends to happen is you'll roll 2 dice and then you'll pass both of your 4-ups, and the next time you roll 2 dice, you'll fail both. But depending on when those pass and fails come, could be so critical in the game. And if you pass the 2 4-ups against the las cannons, great. If you then fail the 2 4-ups against the plasma guns, who cares? It's going to be a total of 4 damage on your 18 wounds. So I know I'm sort of laboring the point here, but the T12 combined with the 2+ save, combined with the 18 wounds, really does make Dawn Tank commanders very, very durable. And they have a reputation in the game of being tough bitches to bring down. Leadership 7 is something I can just breeze past. Standard issue for the Guard. Objective control of 5, though. Tasty. Don't forget about it. This guy can out-objective control a standard elite unit of Marine equivalent infantry. Someone puts, I always say Terminators as an example, although you don't actually see many like regular Terminators, but they're a good sort of litmus test, as it were. If someone puts 5 OC1 elite infantry of whatever flavor for their faction on an objective, your Rogal Dorn can actually just contest it, and that can be enough to deny your opponent primary points. Often you won't want your Dawn that up close and personal. Fundamentally, this guy is a fire support and force multiplier unit because he's a tank plus being an officer. But it's a tool to have in the toolbox. It's something to keep at the back of your mind. And when push comes to shove and the situation demands it, maybe banging 5 OC from the tank commander onto the objective could win you the game. Now that just about covers the stat line. Let's get into the unit composition and war gear options. So the Rogal Dorn commander consists of 1 model. You can't take multiples of these in like one big squad. And this model is equipped with a Castigator Gatling cannon, a heavy stubber, twin battle cannon, and armored tracks. You can swap out pretty much all of those options. You can take a oppressor cannon and coaxial autocannon instead of the twin battle cannon. You can take a pulverizer cannon instead of a castigated Gatling cannon. And you can take, just additionally, not even swapping anything out, these are just freebies. You can take 2 melter guns or 2 additional heavy stubbers. And again, just for freebies, you can take 2 heavy bolters or 2 multi-melters. Now, if you're a new player, it might be a little overwhelming trying to work out which weapons are better. Should you go for the stubbers? Should you go for the heavy bolters? I'll tell you what my go-to loadout in 10th edition is, and I'll explain a little bit about why I take those choices. So I always go for the oppressor cannon and the coaxial autocannon over the twin battle cannon. This is because it just comes down to the fact that the twin battle cannon is only strength 10 and only AP -1, whereas the oppressor cannon is strength 12 and more importantly is AP -2. Now, the strength 10 versus strength 12 makes such a difference when you're going into either enemy vehicles or you're going into enemy hyper elite infantry. For example, if you're shooting toughness 6 infantry, you're going to want to wound them on 2s with the oppressor cannon. And then you're going to want the AP -2 because if that infantry is in cover, if you've only got AP -1, then essentially you don't have any AP. The twin battle cannon is only strength 10, which means it will be wounding a lot of elite infantry on like 3s. Yes, it has twin linked, but I just prefer 2s over 3s, just fundamentally. Someone will probably tell me the math is better on the 3s for rerolls. I just prefer the 2s. But most importantly, when shooting a lot of enemy vehicles, it's going to be winning on 4s at best and probably 5s. Because you'll find that a lot of enemy armor is toughness 11. So that before with like the Lehman Russ and the whole las cannon thing, right? So being strength 10 with twin linked means you're fishing for 5s, and sometimes those 5s come up. Sometimes they just don't, even with the rerolls. I would much rather have strength 12 because it means that when I'm shooting a lot of enemy vehicles, I'm just going to be winning on 3s. I don't have the rerolls, but I'm just going to be winning on 3s. So for me, the oppressor cannon, it's just got the strength to make it good against nearly every target in the game, and it's got the AP, so it doesn't really have to worry about enemy cover just screwing it over. And let's not forget, you're not just comparing the oppressor cannon to the twin battle cannon. You do have to factor in the fact that you are getting a coaxial autocannon into this as well if you go for the oppressor. And I'll be honest, the coaxial autocannon, it rarely does much, but every so often it'll just slam 3 wounds onto someone and you'll be like, oh, damn. Like occasionally you'll just fire it and your opponent will fail like they're too. I keep talking about custodies. They're just very like common and popular at the moment, and they're a great example of sort of the elite infantry meta that we're in. And also we've got lots of like vehicles and stuff. And occasionally your opponent will just fail. Let's say their custodian save and just bang, that's one custodian just gone. He's just gone us. Or occasionally you'll be shooting an enemy vehicle and you get the 5 to wound, or you get the lethal hit through if you're taking the combined arms attachment, and then they fail their 2-up or their 3-up save, just bang, you just slice 3 wounds out of an enemy unit. So yeah, you can't just compare the oppressor cannon to the twin battle cannon. You've got to compare the combined potential of the oppressor and the coax against the twin. And so because of this, I always go for that oppressor cannon, I always go for that coax autocannon, and I always leave the twin battle cannon at home. Also, side note, I think that the oppressor cannon and coax autocannon looks cooler. And for me, rule of cool is a really big factor and one that I always put first. As for the castigator versus the pulverizer cannon, again, for many of the same reasons I've just described about tough units, I always go for that pulverizer cannon. Yes, it's very swingy. D6 shots can go all over the place. But even if I roll a 1, I would often rather have 1 strength 9 -3 damage 3 shot than 12 strength 5 shots. I think that the pulverizer cannon, the strength lets it down, but again, if you've got lethal hits from combined arms, it's not as big a deal. And the AP 3 is phenomenal, and the damage 3 again is phenomenal. And if we're going against that elite infantry that I keep banging on about, just being able to just slot 1 with a pulverizer cannon or multiple if you get lucky, very, very good. Now, despite everything that I have said regarding going for bigger, more powerful shots and all that kind of good stuff, when it comes to the debate between the melter guns and the stubbers, I kind of contradict myself because I always like to go for the 2 additional heavy stubbers. Yes, the melter guns have just got better stats. They've got the strength 9, the AP -4, the damage D6. The problem in my mind with the melter guns is they're only 1 shot each, which is okay, but they're only 1 shot each. But the real fly in the ointment is the 12-inch range. Frankly, I don't want my Rogal Dorn getting that close. I just don't want it. I want to be staying back at about 18-inch range. I want to have my infantry pushing forward onto objectives, my tanks going back. I just feel like if things have got within 12 inches, it's a dicey situation. Very, very dicey. Whereas having the 2 additional heavy stubbers gives you 3 heavy stubbers in total. If you're not long range, that's 9 shots. If you are within 18 inches, then you are going to have, 18 shots? That's a lot of potential for a lot of lethal hits, which can cause a lot of chip damage. I tend to find if you take the melter guns, there's like 1 turn when you get to use them. I tend to find when you take the heavy stubbers, they get to do something every turn. Worst case scenario, like 4 turns out of 5. And 4 turns of lots and lots and lots of Dakka, I tend to find it's just better than going for 1 turn of a couple of melter gun shots. And at the end of the day, the card just isn't really struggling for melter guns. Pretty much all your infantry squads are going to be having 2 of them anyway. Lastly, we get to the heavy bolters versus multi-melters debate, and I like to go for the multi-melters. I sometimes wish I had the 36-inch range of the heavy bolters, and I do love a good heavy bolter, even though mathematically they do tend to be a worse option. But I like going for the multi-melters because they, in a funny sort of way, pair very nicely with the heavy stubbers. Because you want your stubbers to be really in an 18-inch range that they can get their maximum shots from rapid fire. And that pairs nicely with the fact that your multi-melters have got a 18-inch range as well. So I go for multi-melters, I go for 3 heavy stubbers, I go for the pulverizer cannon, and I go for the oppressor cannon and the coaxial autocannon. That is Mordian's go-to Dorn loadout. Very briefly, I want to touch upon the Dorn in melee. 99% of the time, you want to avoid it. I mean, look at that. 6 no AP attacks. You might run over a couple of grots if you're lucky. But don't completely discount it because it is toughness 12, and that factors in to the tank shock stratagem, which allows you to roll a dice for each one of your toughness. So in this case, 12 dice, and for each 5 up, you generate a mortal wound to a total of 6. Now, on average, you do 4 with the Rogal Dorn, but when you're rolling so many dice, there's a real opportunity that you're just going to spike it up to the big 6 mortal wounds, and that can do a lot of damage against big monsters. Yeah, don't think about it like you're going to run over like 3 Space Marines. If you've got an enemy monster that's taken everything from the Dorn and it's sat there on like 3 or 4 wounds, yeet the Dorn in there. Go for the tank shock. Run it over. Most of the time, like I said, you might want to avoid that, but it could be clutch. It could make the difference. Don't forget the toughness. Don't forget the tank shock. That just about rounds out the Dorn's offensive capabilities, but now let's zoom in onto its datasheet abilities. First up, we have got Deadly Demise D6. This means that when the vehicle loses its last wound and is destroyed, before removing it from the battlefield, you roll a dice. If you roll a 6, then all units within 6 inches, friend and foe, are going to take D6 mortal wounds. And you roll for each unit individually. So you don't roll the dice once, then everyone, let's say, takes like 3 or 4 mortal wounds. You roll the first unit, you could roll a 1, you roll a second unit, you could roll like a 6. So Deadly Demise D6 is a big explosion. When this thing goes up, it starts taking everyone with it. We've also got the faction ability, Voice of Command. This means that your Rogal Dorn can do orders, and most importantly, it can do 2 orders. Yes! Praise be to the Emperor! The prophecy has come true. It is as foretold. Oh my god. If you're new to Guard and this is the first time you've seen orders, you might be thinking, what's the big deal about tank commanders in general being able to do like 2 orders? Oh, my sweet summer child. I don't know how to tell you this, but for 18 months, tank commanders could only do like 1 order, and they couldn't even like order themselves. It was bad. It was bad. I'm there right now. It was bad. So now not only can they do 2 orders, but they can also order themselves because the tank commanders, the Dorn tank commanders, the Lemur tank commanders have the squadron keyword. So what this really means is your Dorn commander is going to order himself, and then he's going to be able to order another tank around him. This is great because not only does it mean he can boost his own damage output, because 9 times out of 10 you're going to do the take aim order. So suddenly all of these weapons aren't hitting on 4s, which is a bit dicey, but are hitting on 3s, which is a lot more reliable. And then he can also order a mate next to him. It could be another Rogal Dorn, but it can be any vehicle with squadron. And then they're also hitting on 3s because you go for take aim on that. It's a fantastic force multiplier. It's long overdue. I cannot express how excited I am about this. This fixes a lot of problems for Guard in terms of order bottlenecking. It just stops things from being awkward. Like I've got to take the Lord Solar to order the commander. The commander then orders the tank. It was just a nightmare. It's simple. It's quick. It's clean. It works. And it's extremely powerful. Just handing out so many tank orders. That is going to hurt your opponent. And it is going to make your units do a hell of a lot of damage. And don't forget, if you're going in the combined arms attach, which I know we've focused on a lot, then you can give one of these guys Grand Strategist, and that means he would be able to do 3 orders. So you could have 3 Rogal Dorns in your list, which is pretty much all of the heavy armor you're going to need. And the officer could order himself and the 2 Dorn buddies. Yes, it does make the officer a hell of a linchpin, and if he goes, it could be in a bit of a problem. But again, with the combined arms attachment, it's not such a big issue because you've got stratagems to let infantry officers do orders, so that's a bit of a backup. So yeah, I really like the fact you can do 2 orders. I especially like it on Dorn tank commanders, because if you're taking 3 Dorns, you really don't need any more heavy armor than that. I know the Treadheads there are going to disagree with me, but you don't. It's a nice, neat package. Sections off a nice part of your list, which is the damage dealing part of it, and it's damn efficient at it as well. Speaking of orders, the Voxnet ability is nice. It means that you can do orders 12 inches away rather than the usual 6. Considering the size of the Dorn tank commander, that's actually quite a big bubble, especially when you think about doing it from the tip of one track to the tip of another track. It can mean that those orders can go a lot further than they look, although 12 inches isn't massive. There is going to be an element of clustering when it comes to this commander and who he's going to be ordering. Finally, we have got called shots. Each time monster select to shoot, you can reroll 1 hit roll, 1 wound roll, and 1 damage roll. This is great. It's like having 3 free CP in a funny sort of way, because you can use these rerolls however you want. You don't have to apply the hit reroll, the wound reroll, and the damage reroll all to one attack. You could, let's say, use a hit reroll on a presser cannon shot. You could use a reroll to wound on a pulverizer shot, and you could reroll a damage roll on a multi-melter shot. Or if you've got one multi-melter that's just refusing to get the done, then you could apply them all to that one attack. It's really, you've got 3 of these rerolls. 1 for the hit, 1 for the wound, 1 for the damage. Spread them out how you want, concentrate on how you want. They're just there for you to use. And it just makes the Dorn very reliable. It pairs really nicely with things like the pulverizer cannon and the multi-melters. It's great. It just makes you more powerful. Downside is you have this instead of ablative armor, which is what the normal Rogal Dorn has. And so your tank commander is going to be noticeably less durable. Ablative armor is a very strong ability. If you're not sure what it is, I will be doing a deep dive on the regular Dorn, but ablative armor is its ability, and it lets you once per game just to say blank, just no damage to one enemy attack. It might not seem like a lot, but if someone's coming in with a big old damage 6 attack, and there are plenty of them out there, or big old D6+2 or D6+3 damage attack, you can just be like, no, that's not happening. So your tank commander doesn't have that. I think if you want to make sure this guy stays alive, you probably want to pair him with a tech priest, although that is going to start getting expensive because Dorn tank commanders aren't cheap in terms of points. It's just something to be aware of. Either try and direct your enemy's firepower to go after other units, throw some distraction units at him, or invest in things like tech priest to make sure that you can put a 4-pin fund on this guy, try and keep him around. You're going to want him around because his orders are great, his weapons are great, his abilities are great. Overall, he's great. In summary, I think that the Rogal Dorn tank commander is an easy 2 thumbs up unit. He's got the durability, he's got the firepower, and he's also a force multiplier. What more do you want from a guard fire support unit? Well, at least that's what I think. But of course, all of this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you guys think down in that comment section below. Are you a fan of the Dorn tank commander? Do you worry about that ablative plating not being there? And how do you think it stacks up versus the good old Lehman Russ tank commander? Don't forget, if you enjoyed today's video, to go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing, truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full-time without the incredible and generous support of my members, so thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bon Vert, Lord Pryor, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, and August Barney. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.